It's a new week. Well,
No,
technically
it's
not a new
not.
week. It's Friday. It's a new video.
Yeah.
It's a new show and it's a new day.
Well, it's the same show, but it's a brand new video and it's a brand new day.
Yes. And another day, another sody pop.
Another sody
So,
pop.
ready to go with our sody pops.
Papa bless.
So this week, Joseph wanted to talk about, I guess, the biggest strength or just thing that you can learn when you're being a filmmaker, starting your life. Just moving through your life, learning this one principle, I guess, that will help you out basically in a lot of aspects of your life.
This conversation is going to be a bit more broad, but it can be applied to pretty much every situation in life or in your career that you find yourself in. I'm still learning it for real, and most people never really learn it completely to the point where they've mastered this principle or this thought, this perspective about life. But you can grow, and at least maybe us talking about it can help you start thinking about it and applying it to your own situation and the places you find yourself. So let me ask you, Joshua, we talked about this before we started recording, but what would you say is the normal perspective of people our age when it comes to reaching your goals and planning out things? What would you say? Do you think that there is strength in being like super goal and super planning oriented, where you plan out a whole bunch
I
of
guess
details?
do you want to bring up what we're talking about first? Because I never really
we're talking about planning, pretty much.
Yes,
we're talking about
planning and
planning to the point of trying to have as much control over your life and your situations and your goals as possible. What do you think?
But then,
go ahead.
Knowing I guess the strength that I was talking about is learning, not knowing that things aren't going to go the way you plan. Basically, basically learning how to roll with the punches.
Pretty much. So, would you say that people our age struggle with this idea?
Well, I would say the average person our age, I would say it's kind of ingrained in people where you're like, you got to get out of high school, you got to go to college, you got to do this, you got to go through these steps to go through your life. For us, or especially me, it's been very, these past years and just several years since I got out of high school, it's been very not the norm, I guess, for me. But I would say my personality is very like, I guess I like to plan things. So that is something that I need to work on. Like me setting plan for things, it normally doesn't go the way I want it to, but I always feel like I need to set a plan that just gives me more sense of like ease to know, okay, this is the plan. At this time, we're going to do this. Once we get everything accomplished, then that's what we need to get accomplished.
Yeah.
So for me, I would say I'm not great at it at all. That would be something, that I really need to work on.
We should define when you're saying you're not great at it. We're talking about being able to roll with the punches and not be paralyzed when things in life doesn't go the way according to what you think is your plan. You know, a lot of times we understand the concept. We can't control other people and we can't control other people's lives, but we get this idea that if we just work hard enough and plan well enough, that we can control certain aspects of our life. And there's truth in that, but you can't take it as gospel. You can't take it as the ultimate truth in life, and you can achieve anything if you just plan hard enough. You know, if you just set the hard enough goals and you just constantly reaching goals. It's not an excuse to say, oh, I don't have to try, I don't have to plan, because ultimately things do get accomplished because you plan, but also things go completely sideways that you had no control over, and it completely threw your plan out of whack. And this is something that I am very guilty of being bad at, I guess. The idea of me having goals and making plans to reach those goals have been like a foundation and a center point and a perspective that I thought is going to allow me to work towards success in relationships, in career, in health, in a whole bunch of different areas. And ultimately, it doesn't reach that. We can come at it at a perspective of what's that look like with films that we've made. But first, I want to ask you, or just kind of get your thought, because you had mentioned you're kind of like me. You like to plan things out. And what was it like a little bit? We've talked about on the first episode of this season where you got sick for a while. What was it like dealing with that for yourself when that kind of your physical body kind of messed up your plan? You know what I mean? Was that how did you deal with that emotionally? Did you feel like you were prepared emotionally for something like that to happen?
No, I would say, yeah, that was one of the hardest things. Yeah, I was going through physical stuff, but mentally, I'm in my early 20s trying to get my life figured out. What's next? What am I going to do? Even now, like, I'm still trying to figure stuff out from it, like moving forward with my life. And so, just life always throws you for a loop.
Yeah.
You have your whole life and you think, I mean, me personally, I feel like if I'm not going on 100% on something, then I'm not meeting that goal and not doing the best I can. But I know that, I mean, I got a full life ahead of me. I don't have to do it this minute. I'm early 20s. Yeah, I'm 22. I'm not like 20 anymore, but it's 2 years. I could still do something today that I could do in my 20, that when I turn 20. So just moving forward, yeah, I'm not doing exactly as people want, but I'm going forward. And that's a lot of people's life, just figuring out what goes on in like after college and things. So it's just kind of hard finding. Everybody goes through that.
Yeah, I think there's a direct correlation with like me and you, and I'm sure people listening to this probably has felt this as well, or is currently feeling this. We feel like there's a direct correlation between meeting our goals, having success, and how much time we're spending on it and how much control we have over that situation. Most of the time, when it comes to success in careers specifically, I know there's something that's like, it looks kind of like a hockey stick, where you do hard work and you plan and you do a lot of work over a period of time, and then after a while, there's a higher probability that it's going to start taking off, and when it takes off, it usually grows a lot faster. So it looks kind of like the bottom of a hockey stick, where you don't see a lot of growth for a while, even though you're trudging along and you're hustling, and then you don't see that growth till a while down the road. And in that time period, life is going to mess up your plans, Not only are you discouraged because you're not seeing growth, because you have to get through that long period of time before you get there, but also your life is sabotaging your plans that you think you've put all of your eggs in a basket and said, okay, this is how I get success. And then your life kind of throws it away and you have to figure out a whole new plan as you go. And it's things that are out of your control. And like we said, these are principles that are pretty high, I guess sky level or whatever. And we're going to try to talk some specifics about dealing with filmmaking and some projects that I've worked on in the past that has that I've been directly affected by planning well and things have gone well. So we're not saying that, or at least I'm not saying that planning isn't good, but there's a middle ground. You have to know how to react and troubleshoot in things that are out of your control.
definitely.
You can't be all planning, and you can't be all goal oriented and never move from that, never deviate from that. Because if you do, then you won't see success, because your plans are going to change almost daily, weekly, monthly, definitely yearly, And so I guess getting into some story, is there any comments you want to have before I talk about a few of the films I've worked on?
No, how about you go ahead and get into, what was it, Hidden?
Yeah, well,
not Hidden, Handled. Or
yeah, it's Handled.
What was the boxing film
you tried to do? It was Handled. And if there's a part you want me to elaborate on, just stop me or ask a question. So I worked on this. I wrote this screenplay. I think it might have been almost a full film, but I wrote this screenplay. It was a number of years back. I had a good friend that he was a good actor just naturally, and he was willing to help me on a volunteer basis to make this film and be my lead character. I was a one-man crew at the time, and so Joshua wasn't really involved with my projects at that time. So I was kind of either, finding a friend who'd be willing to help me out and, hang out afterwards, or just try to have a good time with it, if I needed some help on the crew. But most of the time it was me just showing up with a camera, setting everything up that I could, and holding a boom mic and just going with it, And so because of that, I felt like I had to plan a lot in order for it to be a success, for it to be ready to go. And so I made a schedule perfectly. I was like, I'm giving us plenty of time to get these scenes done on these dates. We're going to record it at this time. We're going to be done at this time. I have these actors. I started getting people. I was calling people. I was Facebook messaging people I didn't even know, who was like, okay, I have a part in this film. I want you to play it. And I was getting people to send in video auditions and all this different kinds of stuff. And I was getting really planning oriented with this film. I was like, this is like a bigger film, and it's really cool. I've really invested in this story. So if I want to see it happen, I got to make sure I get everything together. And like I said, I'm one person, and so it was a lot to handle. No pun intended. But ultimately, I would, there was a day where we would film like 2 times, and the actors were there, and it was great. We got it done according to plan, and I was like, yes, this is working. I swear I'm the best. It's like, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to make a full film with just actors, and I'm everyone behind the camera, and it's going to be awesome. And I'm going to be like, I made this, just through hustle, and it was by myself, and it's going to be a great film. And then there was one day where we showed up to film, and the weather was terrible. I mean, we couldn't even film. And so I was like, all right, well, I'll just plan another day, after the other production days, we'll catch up, and it'll just be like a makeup day. So I was like, all right, planning, we can solve this. And so I let the guys know. Everyone seemed to be good with that. And I was like, all right, we're just going to do this. I'm trying to work with these people because they're all volunteering their time. And then another time we got to filming, or I got there set up to film and whatnot, or my lead actor was there. And then one of the side characters didn't show up. And I was like, okay, that's another day we're going to have to make up, because they just didn't show up and didn't give me a heads up. They weren't answering their phone, and I didn't know what was going on. I think I did 2 more production days that were successful. We got like a couple scenes filmed, and it was working well. A couple of the actors I was working with were really great people and really patient, and they were really working hard to get these scenes good. And then the next 2 or 3 days of planned shooting, a couple other actors didn't show up. And that was completely out of my control. It got to the point where I was like, on that one day, there was a breaking point day where we had to film like 3 or 4 scenes all in the same location, but it was going to be a longer, hard-working, work fast kind of day in order to make up for time lost and, have a schedule in place that we could actually get it done in a reasonable time. And an actor didn't show up. So I said, all right, I'll play the actor. I'll get in front of the camera. I'll put it on a tripod. I'll be the character for the guy that didn't show up, and I'll just tell the other guy I don't need him anymore. And then we filmed one scene, and then the next scene had a different character that was supposed to show up, and they didn't show up either. And I had confirmed with them. They said yes, and they didn't show up. And I had gotten permission to film there and everything. I mean, I put so much hard work and planning into this, and they just didn't show up. And I was shaken and upset. I had to go and tell the few actors that were really diligent and faithful and worked hard, like my friend, that we're not going to be able to finish this film. Like, not within a reasonable time. There's just too much we still have to film. We're so far off schedule. It's not going to work, you know? And and that was super hard because I put so much faith in if I just plan well enough, then it'll work, you know? And I thought if I can just make side plans and make up for the lost time, that it'll work. And it ultimately didn't work. And it was very frustrating to me. And that was a situation where I felt like I could control if I just planned well enough. But things outside of my control happened, and I was pretty upset about it because I had put so much emphasis on the fact that I thought I could control this, you know?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about that? I remember that. What were your thoughts about that whole thing?
Well, I wasn't a part of most of that film, or really all of it. I remember one day, the last day, when you were supposed to have like three scenes, and then people didn't show up. I came to that day just to help film a little bit, but I remember at that point I remember just telling you, being like, at this point you're too far, you have way too much, you're not going to be able to finish it. So at this point you just kind of need to just scrap this film. So I wasn't a part of most of it, but I know that's where I guess me and you working together works well, because you always have like one plan and you do one thing, but then I always see it from a different perspective, being outside, not from you, and I always come behind and like be like, did this happen? Did this happen? So fixing your plan, but also giving you scenarios where you're like, I'm like, well, this could happen, so we need to have some kind of plan to if this crazy thing happens.
Yeah. And also, I mean, we could probably talk about this in another podcast, but also the aspect of relying on people to not have so much invested in you doing all the work ends up being a success. You were a part of Dying of the Leaves. It's our longest film to date at this point, and I gave you responsibilities. Even though you were sick at the time, I gave you responsibilities because you wanted to be there and you wanted to help, and you were a co-director for that film. And so we were tackling it together, and we got it accomplished. But not only that, we relied on other people, you know, like Zach and Justin and some of these people that came beside us and helped out with it, quite a number of things, like the biggest production day for some of those war scenes. They were there and helping, and I had more people to rely on. And when you have that, you can end up seeing that those people are more valuable than a plan, you know? Investing in people and getting people involved with the process and dispersing the workload is more valuable than having a perfect plan. And that's the same in life. If you're going through life by yourself, then not just in your career, but in your relationships and everything, you're going to find more success, more fulfillment, and you're going to see more accomplished when you're surrounded by people and you're not alone and you're not by yourself doing all the work or, you know, trying to make things happen. You're going to see success naturally. It almost feels like magic sometimes, because it's like When you inject more people into a situation, for some reason it just works. And it's like, okay, well, it could still not work because, like, in that situation, an actor could not show up and we're screwed. But for some reason, it's like the actors show up. It's like they want to be there. It's like they are, interested in being a part. And I didn't do a much different except add more people to the process. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And get more people involved. And for some reason, it worked a lot better and went together so much more better, and it was a success. We got the film made and it looks good. It's our best film up to this point. And it happened, and it didn't have anything to do really with a perfect plan.
Yeah. So to kind of close it off, just some final words. I know you're going through talking about some plans sometimes never go the way you think. You can make a bunch of plans, but then one thing will throw it off. So being a filmmaker and making films, even like just making a shot list, that's a good plan for all the shots you need, but like maybe you aren't going to be able to do some of them because your equipment's not working right. You have a couple of different cameras. This camera stops working or the battery dies or something like that. So just having a good plan going into a film or just going into life is good, but you need to learn to kind of roll with the punches and not knowing sometimes things don't work out.
Yeah.
So that was my final thoughts.
It was good. That was good. That summed it up nicely.
So subscribe to this channel, and if you like this video, watch some of our other videos we have on this channel, and I guess we'll see you next time.